because it goes with, because Christianity is Son, Christ is Son. So you look at Christmas. Christmas is when the Son is like at the point where it's really dying on the cross. The cross is the zodiac, like such. So all that was to keep track of, okay, when's it time to plant? When's it time to reap and sow? Like this is how civilizations were built. So that's religion, because it's getting you back to your natural way of existing, right? As opposed to, go to church, get on your knees, pray, read your Bible. It's not to say that any of the things that you see in church are wrong, because even that's magic, right? Like you use words to set things in motion. That's all a prayer is. Or when a preacher, he's using his words as vibrations to incite people to do things, whether it's to give money or to give your time to do good to others. I mean, it's a science. And most pastors are master masons, so they know the science. Because masons, they know the science, but they don't know the science as deeply as Moors do, or as we're coming back to know. Right. So even us, our degree is higher than what your high-ranking mason would be, because they're only given as much as will allow them to run society for themselves, but we're coming from a true aspect. That's like opening the door all the way. So that's what we've been covering. So normally we start with prayer. You want to start? Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
The Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My God. And salvation. By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Islam. The second thing that we do is read the divine warning by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. There are a couple of divine warnings, but this is one that we've been told to read at each meeting. So the Prophet warns all Muslims, governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. January 15th, 1929. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work or in the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from the law for their earnest deed. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By order of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
Islam.
All right. So last week I left off with, like I was saying, religion. The brother puts the classes up on YouTube. So what date was that?
That was the 21st.
27th? Okay, so yeah, if you look for the 27th, Selah Li Bey, I think you call it Moorish. How do you title it?
Moorish American Law and Civics History Group.
Moorish American Law and Civics History Group. And so then you can get a full comprehension of kind of what I'm expounding on today. But we talked about how religion is binding back to yourself. So there's religion, which is for people, like for groups of people, but then religion for yourself as well. And that would be astrology. To me, that's like the ultimate religion for a couple of reasons. So We started off talking about Christianity and how this itself refers to the sun.
The sun?
Yes, it's the sun. And when they say Jesus,
And the moon?
well, the moon is long, but we're going to talk about that in a minute. So, when you look at the sun in astrology, okay, it's traveling around in orbit, right? And it's hitting 12 signs as it goes around. So that's why your zodiac wheel looks like such. And this is east, that's spring. This is Cancer, I should have said Aries, sorry. It's spring and it's Aries. And then here you have summer and it's Cancer. And then on the west you have the opposite. Do you guys know signs? What's the opposite? I'm testing. What's the opposite of Aries? What sign are we in now?
The Taurus.
Yeah,
Libra,
and
right?
this is October, Libra.
Mm-hmm. So,
There you go, Mama. I didn't know that.
and then winter.
Is Capricorn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when they are talking about Christmas,
Christmas?
it's not about Santa Claus. It's not about Jesus dying on the cross for real. It's about the sun going on. This is the cross, and then here, this is so each of these is when the season changes. This is spring, so we call that the vernal equinox, and then this is autumn, fall. This is the autumn equinox. This is summer. We call that the summer solstice, and then this is winter. We call it the winter solstice. So equinox is comprised of two parts, where equa means equal and nox means night. So it's like the day and the night are equal. So that's what happens when you hit spring and fall. And then solstice, yep, spring. And then solstice is when you have the sun. The sun is sol. And then stis is stand. So that's when the sun is standing still. And the sun stands still here, Cancer, and stars, but that's for the actual zodiac, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So then you have June 21st, and then you have 21st of December. And roughly, because the precession of the equinox actually changes the specific days, but this is like roughly the days, right? So then here, we're down here for winter. For the winter solstice, the sun sits still for 3 days. That's the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And then it rises on the 25th. So that's Jesus being born. So he died on the cross here because he stayed for 3 days. And then he was reborn. Which is funny because we said that he was born here. But technically, if we're saying he was reborn, that's more like Easter, right? So it's all kind of conflicting. It's pretty much that you had ancient principles and ancient concepts. So we're talking about tracking the sun. That's an ancient principle and concept. But when Christianity as a dogma was established, they wanted to get the people who practice these ancient principles to subscribe to Christmas and other Christian religions, dogma Christian religions. So they tried to take on some of the principles that they were already using, like to meld with it just to make it easier for people to follow. So they said, okay, well, we're going to call it a different holiday altogether, but we're going to use the same principle and the same science because it's familiar to the indigenous people that we're trying to get to be a part of this. Okay, so that's just an example of, this is again religion. This is the true religion. And then when we talk about Jesus being born from the Virgin Mary and thinking of that literally, that's actually dogma. So that's a brief description of what we talked about last time. So I wanted to continue with that. Oh, are there any questions before I move? So I wanted to get a little deeper into why is it important? Why would so that's religion for a civilization of people. But then astrology can be religion for personal people as well. And the reason being is because when you're born, you manifest upon this earth realm based on how the rays of the moon, the sun, Mars, Jupiter, all the planets, and then them going through the stars and going through the stars, which are constellations, they all come together as one vibration. They all come together as one, and then that's you. Like, that's what manifests you. So when people say they're light beings, that's true. They manifest from the light from the different planets. Okay? So when people say, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that sign, I'm a Cancer, I'm a Taurus, I'm whatever, that's just their sun. So this is sun. And the sun is your purpose, and it kind of just tells your general character. Alright, so I know we have a Scorpio in here. I know we have an Aquarius. I'm a Cancer. What's your sign?
Capricorn.
Oh, okay. What's your sign?
Sagittarius.
Okay, and what are their signs?
Aquarius and Virgo. Aquarius and Virgo.
Aquarius? Okay, I'm gonna start with the babies. So,
Well, he's August 23rd. That's the cusp. But he's
So-
still Virgo, right?
yes, he's Leo Virgo.
Okay. And he's January 21st.
So he's
Is he cusp too? Capricorn, Aquarius, or is it right?
Yeah, you're right.
What's this?
Okay.
This is
So one of the things really important to know when it comes to children is just knowing their whole chart. I still work with this young woman from India, from Hindustan, and when she was born, the priest, they made a natal chart of her for her, and then they did interpretations, and they use it even to determine who they get married to. So she's all asking me, you look at this person and see if you should be married and all this stuff. So I would say for Aquarius, I'll start with Aquarius and then I'll go back to Capricorn because he's more Aquarius. Very inquisitive, always want to know, always trying out new things, doesn't like to be confounded, doesn't like boundaries. But the Capricorn aspect, that therefore they have a little bit of Capricorn inside of them, needs structure. Even though they try to fight it, they need it. Not like a true Aquarius who's like, I can live without structure. I'm cool without it. Like being on the cusp, you take on some of the qualities of that cusp. Okay. But at the end of the day, certain things you might want to expose them to are like technology, anything with engineering, very hands-on, innovative type things. Legos is like key because they can build and think outside the box. We're in the age of Aquarius or approaching, so this is a really hot time for Aquarius energy, where we have been living in an energy where people have been trying to hide things, right? Piscean, right? Very secretive. That's what the whole masonry is. That's what the priesthood is. Keeping things behind closed doors. Aquarius comes and wants to destroy and break things down. So They have a little bit of that destructive aspect, rebellious nature too, which you have to be careful of. You want to use the Saturn from the Capricorn side, which is very disciplinarian, to teach them how to use their rebellious nature for a purpose and not just kind of be, how they say, a rebel without a cause. So that's just looking at the sun. Okay, I haven't looked at any other planets. I haven't looked at where it is in the chart, but that's just a general, now, Virgo Leos. I have a friend who's Virgo Leo. They are very efficient people. But see, Virgos tend to be like, they're a little bit more in the background. They're a little bit more subdued. They're perfectionists at whatever they do, but they're kind of like, let me do my job and then let me retreat. Whereas a Virgo Leo is like, I got to be on the spotlight and I got to be perfect. So it's a little stressful for a Virgo Leo. Because Leo already is like, I got to do things perfectly in the sense of pride. But if they mess up, they can kind of like, maneuver and just let their light and Leo-ness shine. Whereas a Virgo Leo is like, not only do I have to shine, but I can't mess up. Like, it's going to hurt my ego, even if nobody else realizes that I messed up. So these people are very good at, like, public speaking. They're very good at leading and organizing groups of people. And they're very good at, like, being, good at the details. Which you might want to expose them to, like, reading and writing at a very young age. So where his strengths may be math and science, his strengths may be reading and writing. Which Virgo? Oh, I'm sorry. His strengths may be reading and writing. His strengths may be math and science. Okay. Again, just looking at the sun. Now, I'm going to look at the adults. One thing that first stood out to me that made me want to talk about this is that you have elements. So you have water, you have fire, you have air, and you have water, fire, air, earth. Okay. And each of these has a symbol, just like each planet has a symbol. So the symbol for Scorpio is Aquarius, Cancer. I don't know if you guys can see this in the camera. Capricorn is kind of weird. Not weird, just kind of like and Sagittarius. Aries. Each of the symbols really kind of represents the sign. Scorpio, this is the Scorpio's tail. The sting of the Scorpio's tail. Aquarius, the water bearer, hence the water. Also like vibrations or waves of electricity, which represents progressiveness. Cancer, this is the crab. It also represents the sense that Cancer will go in two directions before it moves forward. This is kind of like that. I'm going two ways. So like they may say, oh, you procrastinate, but really we just don't like to move on anything till we're like 100%. Capricorn, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what the symbol is, so I gotta do some more research. That's why it says it's a little weird to me. I don't know what it is. And then Sagittarius is the archer, in the sense of like Sagittarius, like I do me. These two, y'all best buddies, cause y'all both are like I just need my space. Where Aquarius, they're more of humanitarian, where they want to be in the group, but they want to lead the group. So they don't mind being with people because they're humanitarian themselves, but they want to be leading because they know they have the most progressive ideas. Sagittarius is like, I don't care if you're with me or you're not. I'm going to do me. Not to say that they don't care about people, because they're very benevolent people. Like, they're very giving. If they got it, they're going to give it. But at the end of the day, they're like, I feel like, going on a road trip on my motorcycle for 3 days, that's what I'm going to do. And like, nobody's going to stop me. I don't care. So that's why the arrow is so key, because it's like, I'm going in whatever direction I want to go and nothing's going to stop me. So each of these would fall into an element. there's 12 signs, 4 elements. That means how many signs per element? Mm-mm. 3. Yeah. Okay, so I just want to see everybody's what they know. What do you think on here would go underwater?
Aquarius.
It's misleading, I know.
Well, well, I know I'm a Capricorn, I'm an earth sign.
Yes,
I think that is an air sign, Aquarius.
it is.
And Cancer should be water sign,
Yes.
because they're opposites.
Yes.
Scorpio should be a water sign.
Mm-hmm.
Sagittarius, I think, is it has to be fire.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that means we're all in here. All the elements are in here, which is excellent. Now, some elements get along better than other elements. Some elements are considered receptive, right? That means like they take on energy. Which one of y'all think that is? Just think about people you know who's like and here's the opposite. The other is more expressive. Think about yin and yang. So 2 of the elements are yin, they take on energy. 2 of them are yang, they put out energy, they give forth energy.
Water and air.
Or what?
Receptive.
Water is receptive.
Okay.
I'm a say, is earth receptive?
Yes. That leaves. Yep. Okay. Fire signs are very active. They put forth a lot of energy. They are initiators automatically. Aries starts the whole year. And then air signs, they're thoughtful, so they put forth ideas to people. Earth and water. Water is like emotional, so we take on everybody's problems. Like, if you have a friend that you're always calling, and everybody calls that friend, they likely have a lot of water energy. Earth is similar too, but that might be more like for physical, tangible things, like, oh, I need some money, oh, I need a place to stay. You know, they give forth physical things because they're more like disciplined and structured. So yes. Now, they technically, what goes well together? Water and earth, fire and air. So water and earth should be coexisting, and then fire and air should be coexisting. But that does not just mean your sun sign, okay? Meaning, because I'm a water sign does not mean that I have to be with a Taurus or a Capricorn or a Virgo. It's based on what do I have most in my sign. In my chart. Also, looking at other elements of the chart, you may have a chart that they call, you may want to interpret it from a more esoteric standpoint, looking at other elements where you're not just looking at, is it water, fire, air, or earth. For example, you could look at 2 people who are ruled by the same planet. So that takes me to another point. We just talked about the sun. The sun's natural, like its favorite, yes.
Before you get further, can you tell me the difference between esoteric and
Exoteric.
Yeah.
Esoteric is what's hidden. It's usually reserved for like a deeper understanding of something. Exoteric is just what's on the surface, what's given. So each planet has a sign that it feels most comfortable in, like that's its home. So the home to the sun is Leo. The opposite is where it feels uncomfortable. So what's the opposite of Leo? We talked about, yeah. So personality-wise, they say Aquarius tend to be a little quirky, a little offbeat. Where like Leos are like the love of, everybody loves a Leo, like the party, right? People like Aquarius, though I think they appreciate them in this day and age now more because we are becoming more open to things that are quirky and different. So you have to think back when we were deeply in the age of Pisces, like an Aquarius would be eccentric. Like think of those philosophers who they're like, oh, he's a heretic. That would be Aquarian energy. But today, like we love that kind of thing. We embrace it. But technically speaking, it's what we call a fall position. All right. So now the moon is where you feel most comfortable. That's who you truly, truly are. You can only tell your moon sign if you actually enter it into the computer or you lay out a chart using an ephemeris. And it's not, it's not like it costs any money, it's free. So everybody should go to astro.com and put your birth information in. You have to know the time, well, let me take it back. The date, the location, and then the time to be the most specific, but you don't have to have the time to know your moon. But the moon tells where you feel most comfortable. Right? It's emotions. It's like your true self when you're at home and people really get to know you. Then we have Mercury. Oh, and I apologize. This is Cancer. That's why Cancers are like very emotional. It's the mother energy because the moon is directly connected to pregnancy and childbirth. It's also connected. It's also nurturing energy. Okay. The opposite of that is Capricorn, where it's more again about the structure. So the Cancer is like, oh, are you okay? And then the Capricorn is like, get up, you need to do this and move forward.
You know, it's crazy. I think my moon is Cancer.
Really? So then you have a good balance. You probably have a lot of emotions, but you have a good balance in the sense that your ultimate lesson is to not be too much of either one. See, I'm a Scorpio moon, so I'm like too much. Like, I'm too much water. So when I hear people who have like that earth water balance, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. My best friend, she was born on January 7th, so she's my exact opposite. And she has a Cancer moon. And she's very up and down with her emotions, very up and down. But I can see like the rationalness of herself. Like she knows how to talk herself down and out of her feelings, where I'm like in it. I'm just like, I'm there, and it's going to be until I'm ready to move out, But the other thing is, when you can't get along with your opposite sign, that means you have a problem within yourself. So I feel very fortunate because I love Capricorns. Like I have 3 friends, 3 of my closest friends are Capricorns. So I'm like, okay, good. That means I'm like open to dealing with both the emotional and the lack of discipline side of myself. Whereas like I have a friend who is a Leo who doesn't get along with Aquarius, so that means they're not willing to deal with the side of themselves that may be a little different, offbeat, quirky, what have you. But they're willing to be like the shine star of the party or whatever. So I was saying that the water and the earth go together and fire and the air go together. But I have friends who are married. They've been married for a while now. And they're both ruled by Mercury. Mercury is intellect and communication. It's also trade because the root of Mercury is M-E-R-C, which translates to M-E-R-X, merx, in Latin, which means to trade. It literally means to trade. So it has to deal with communicating with others, traveling. Think of your traveling salesman. Think of a teacher. That I have a lot of Mercury energy in my chart, even though I'm a Cancer. So that's why I'm like, I talk a lot. I teach a lot. I'm always up and communicating. I'm a thinker. I'm a reader, right? My rising sign is Virgo, so another example of Mercury. Well, my friend, her sister is a Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, and their husband is a Virgo. Technically, those Gemini is air, Virgo is earth. So technically, they wouldn't go very well together. However, in my analysis, they share a common piece, which is that ability to communicate. Although Gemini communicates differently from Virgo, and that Virgo is like very strict. Gemini is more like congenial, friendly kind of communication. Like when I think of a Gemini teacher, I think of a teacher who's always trying to have fun and like do fun things with the students. When I think of a Virgo teacher, they like make you copy from the board, and both are good, both are necessary, but that's the difference. But at the end of the day, they both have the same goal. They want you to be able to learn. So I that's my philosophy. That is not like, oh, I read this in a astrology book. That's just, from the things that I've seen. I've seen people who are in relationships with their exact opposite sign. And I think it's because they have to learn how to be less of their own sign. So I have a friend who's an Aries and very loud, very vibrant, very quick to snap, aggressive. Libra is more laid back, conservative, and kind of, to a certain extent, may let people like take advantage of them because they're always trying to be cooperative, which is
Libra?
well, that's because the Venus aspect of it. Because the Venus, and like I said, it depends on all the chart, but because the Venus aspect of it, it makes it like you want balance, you want harmony. It doesn't mean that you always achieve it, but that's what you want. You're the one who's like, can't we all just get along? Because I'm just trying to go to a party and be fly and socialize, and they don't care about all that drama and stuff like that. So train of thought. I was talking about Libra and Aries.
Right.
So she has to learn to be more cooperative and like a little bit more like laid back and not so just jump out there and do whatever. And he has to learn how to take a risk a little bit more and like stand up for himself, defend himself. They have to take on each other's energies a bit more, because when you look at, again, the wheel, if this is Libra and this is Aries, they're one line. They're just opposite ends of one spectrum. So there's technically only 6 lines, and each sign is just the opposite end of one of those lines. Okay. So your moon, your Mercury we talked about, you have your Venus, that's money, and it's love, right? So of these here, nobody is ruled by a Venus. So I'll come back to that, or I'll come back to it time permitting. We talked about Sun, nobody's Sun. We talked about Cancer's moon, Mercury, that was Virgo, Venus, what's next? Mars. Sometimes you see Mars like this, because it's opposite. Sometimes you see it like this too. But the opposite of like trying to have balance and love is being what?
That's the boat.
Imbalanced.
Well, when you don't, sometimes you're trying to, you love everybody, or you want like peace and harmony. Sometimes you want to fight, right? So this is like war. Mars is war.
Okay.
It's also in its self-defense. It's also just energy, like your energy, and you putting that energy towards like making things happen. That's why Aries, again, is that let's do this, and I'm gonna do the work to get here. Their only problem is they're not very steadfast, so they may start something and then go to something totally different. But like they have the ambition to at least start something. Okay, so here you have your Aries, and then you have your Scorpio. Scorpio originally was ruled by Mars until Pluto came into the picture, and then Pluto was assigned to Scorpio. But in traditional astrology, our Aries and Scorpio go with this planet. And you can see that in Scorpio. They can be a little vindictive, See, both of these are like, oh, I'm gonna get you. But Aries is like, I'm gonna get you right now. And Scorpio is like, I'm gonna walk away, I'm gonna be plotting, and you're gonna think I'm over it, but I'm gonna get you. Like I said, war, defense. Okay. You want them on your team, obviously. So we talked about this guy and this guy. So now on to Jupiter. I'm going to show you the symbol, sorry. Jupiter is like this. That's the biggest planet. Jupiter correlates with abundance and growth, expansion. Jupiter goes with Sagittarius. That's why Sagittarius is just like, I just want to live life, I want to have fun, I want to enjoy myself. You know, they don't. Sometimes Sagittarius can be a little blunt, because, like I said, they don't have the time to be thinking about feelings. They're just not that they don't care about people, because again, see, abundance comes from generosity. You when you give, you get more in return. So Sagittarius knows that lesson. That's why they're like, I'll give you the shirt off my back because I'm gonna get 10 more. But because of that, let me do what I need to do. So again, that's Sagittarius that goes with Jupiter, and also Pisces until Neptune came into the picture. Okay. And then last but not least is as far as the 7 main planets. So we did Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. Oh, I'm missing one. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, 6. Okay. And then it's going to be upside down. It's the opposite again. If Jupiter is expansion and growth, no boundaries, what do you think Saturn is? Discipline, strictness, structure, boundaries, father time, because time is a boundary. If there was no time, like we could do things whenever we wanted. Whenever you experience like just great challenges, upheavals, that all is to strengthen you, to give you success. So Saturn is also correlated to success. And so, Capricorn is naturally Saturn. But then Aquarius was Saturn until Uranus came into the picture. The difference between the Capricorn and the Aquarius energy is that Capricorn is like building structures, and Aquarius is tearing down structures. That's just what it is.
So, what's the difference between the time? Because we know that there's a calendar time and then there's a Moorish American time, or the 500 years was added to our time, right?
Well, different calendars are calculated based on like what religion, not religion, what heavenly bodies you looked at to calculate time.
Oh, okay.
So you have the calendar that's based on the sun, and then you have the calendar that's based on the moon, and then you have the calendar that's based on both.
Okay.
So it's just depending on, you know, which system you choose to use.
Now, when we see like C.CY, what does that mean?
C.CY. C.CY. Can you tell me where you might have seen that before?
Right here in the book that Sister Anahid L. wrote.
Calendar year.
Christian calendar year.
What is the year that it says?
It says November 24, 1432. CCY 2012.
CCY is the Christian calendar year.
Okay, all right.
But they use the sun. Well, they actually use the sun and the moon. They use the system of the sun and the moon.
Because you see on the calendar like full moon or quarter moon.
Well, also because the moon, it changes cycles every 28 days. That's why our calendar is technically like 30 to 31. It's mostly 30 days. It's 30-day month to correlate with the moon. The moon, I said 28, but it's technically 29 and a half days it takes to go around each sign. So that's why the months are set in that fashion. And then the sun hits 12 signs, hence why we have 12 months. So they took both sciences and put it together. And you can see, like in the Catholic churches, they have instruments that they built in their architecture to be able to study the sun and what sign it's hitting. So when Christians say, oh, astrology is not ours, it's a lie. Like the Catholic Church has been using astrology since like the 1400s. And they got it from us.
They have it on their glasses too. There's stained glass windows.
The story, if you ever read about the story of Hercules going through the 12 trials, that's the story of Jesus going through his 12 trials as well, which is the sun going through the 12 signs. Yeah, it's all one. But like I said, that's more on a societal basis. This is on like your personal life basis. So now, I explained how each sign is ruled by a planet. Therefore, when you might want to look at the particular planet that you're ruled by and see how it's changing. Some planets, they move more slowly than others. So Saturn moves the slowest out of all the ones we've talked about. And then Jupiter, then Mars, then Venus. Mercury moves almost at the same time as the sun, and then the moon moves the fastest. So really, everybody should be looking at three things: the sun, the moon, and then your own planet. Right now, the sun is in Libra, the moon is in Cancer, and so I'm going to erase this. Another part of astrology that's important is knowing, do planets square each other? Do they trine? Do they sextile? Or do they conjunct? Or are they opposite one another? So, we just talked about how here's Cancer, and the opposite of Cancer is Capricorn. Here's Libra, opposite Aries. These two right here, they create a square. It's a 90-degree angle. That means that there's supposed to be friction between the two. So I'm supposed to have friction with Libras, which I see why we could have friction, because they are not emotional. Like, they are, but they don't like to show it. We, Cancers, we don't like to show it, but we can't help it. So as we mature into our Cancerness, we're just like, okay, that's just what it is. But Libras are like, they just don't like to show any sense of emotion. They're very like social, they're very talkative, they're very intellectually based. So I can see how that could pose a problem. However, if you know that going in, oops, sorry, that was the wrong way. They both square. Cancer and Libra square, and then Capricorn and Libra square. So going into that, if you know that this is the potential way that you guys are going to interact, like you set your mindset to say, what can I gain from this Libran experience? Or the Libran says, what can I gain from this Cancer experience? So also, I square with Aries. Personally, I have found that my square with Aries was easier to deal with, probably because I have that Scorpio moon, so the Mars energy, we can like relate to one another. Or I don't have a lot of strong Venus energy, so it's like totally like, what is this? This is foreign to me, right? And I'll let you each know who your squares are, just so you can be on notice. So you have, I'm trying to think of who's next. Sagittarius. So here you are. This is Sag. You square with Pisces. Do you know any Pisces?
Not at all.
Not at all? Okay, maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. Do you know any Virgos? No? Besides Lunar. Yeah. Well, that's your other square. lucky you. But if you run into them, Pisces can be a little clingy. They're like criers. They worry too much. They're a little like in this etheric realm of what is going on. You never know what's going on with Pisces. But you guys share a Jupiter. So you guys both are very benevolent, very kind. And again, you both can vibe off that if you give, you will receive concept. The reason why you and Virgo square is because Virgo is like up by the book, structure. Sag is like what book? So Virgo and Sag, now they don't really have as much in common as the Sag and Pisces, but Beyonce is a Virgo and Jay-Z is a Sag, and they made it work somehow. Like, again, my philosophy is if you could master your square, it makes you very powerful. So maybe that's what happened. You know, these celebrities, they know science deeper than what they let us on to know. But if you master your square, to me, it's the point that you want to get, because there's power in a point. Just think about the top of a triangle, right? So that means, what is the commonality between the two of you? And the only thing that is that the other aspect of astrology is you have mutable, you have fixed, you have cardinal. Okay, mutable is when the season is going to change, so it's right before. You're a mutable sign because you come right before winter. So is Virgo, because Virgo comes right before fall. Then you have fixed. These two are fixed signs. They're right in the middle. And we're cardinal. We start, she starts winter, I start summer. So then you guys both are more flexible people. You both are more like a little bit more easygoing. So that's where you would share your common ground. Okay. Fixed. So you two actually square each other of the fixed signs. You and Supreme. Because he is right here. And you are right here. If my drawing is better, 90 degrees, right? Why do y'all square? Because you're like deep within your feelings. And you're like, I want to put things out to the people. You're more like into the esoteric magic realm. And you're more like into, not so much esoteric, but definitely a degree of magic, but in the form of science. You guys actually have a lot in common, though, because you both are scientists to a certain degree in the sense that how you approach things. You're a researcher, right? And you're an experimenter. So that's why I said, technically, you guys are like not supposed to get along. But I believe in the age of Aquarius, we're supposed to get along with the ones that we typically wouldn't get along with. It's easy for me to get along with earth signs. I crave it. I'm like, oh God, teach me how to be stable like you. But like a fire sign, that's hard for me. Like, I love their energy though. I just love it because I like they're just so vibrant and they're not afraid of anything. So I believe the universe, crafted me to be that exact person and have the experiences I've had to gain that fiery confidence that you see with the fire sign. Okay, so think about in the end, what am I gaining from each sign? What am I supposed to take away from each sign? You also square Leo. No, yes, you also square Leo, and you also square Taurus. So just think about that when you are interacting with people. And then we both square the same people, and that's Libra and Aries.
Well, that's crazy because my best friend is a Libra.
Do y'all ever have beef with each other?
Rarely. Like, we had beef once in 10 years.
That's good. That's a good sign. I had a best friend that was Libra. We had beef, but the beef was so bad we stopped being friends. But one of my closest friends is an Aries. like always there for each other. You know what I mean? Again, look at the rest of your chart. If I had to pick squares that go well together and don't go well together, it's my personal belief that earth and air squares go better together. Because you guys are both more thought-based. Fire and water squares go better together because we're more emotional-based. Like, water is like pure emotion from just feeling what other people are feeling. And fire is more like the emotion of passion. But, you know what I mean? So, these are just little nuances that I've kind of like discovered in my studies of astrology along the way. Are there any questions so far? I've just been going. So, how do we use the science? We talked about vibrations. As an Aquarius, I'm sure, and an electrician, I'm sure you appreciate the idea of vibrations, right? And sending forth energy and receiving energy. There's a lot of different ways that you can receive and send forth energy. One of the most important is through the word. And so there are different chants that people say to call on energies that they may need more of or that they may need to heal. For example, looking at my own chart, geez, YouTube, don't use my chart for evil purposes. People do that, you know. But I won't tell all my charts. So, my moon is Scorpio. And my Mercury is Leo. Why don't I remember the sign for Leo? I guess I just have to write it. Because I can't remember off the
It's not the sun.
Was that? I can't remember the sign for Leo, so I just wrote it out. But that was the sign for Scorpio. Why would that be a problem? This is within my own chart.
You said the moon is Scorpio and the what's that again?
This is Mercury.
Mercury.
Think about what we just said. You should know because I just said this to you. I said, why would my moon being in Scorpio and my Mercury being in Leo be a problem? We just talked about.
They don't square.
They square each other. Yes, they're 90 degrees apart. If you learn, I'll tell you how you always know a square. First of all, you got to know all the signs in order. That helps. Second of all, squares are signs of different elements, but they have the same modality. But they're not opposites. Okay? Scorpio and Leo are both fixed in the middle of the season. So that part checks off. They're different elements. Water, fire. But they're not opposite. Opposite of Scorpio is Taurus. Opposite of Leo is Aquarius. That's why if you memorize just the chart of the order that they go in, like everything opens up from there. So these two square each other. So what is the moon and what does Mercury represent? Moon, again, that's my emotions. That's one aspect of it. It's also communication. And it's also the mind, intellect. So if they square each other, that means that I have a problem with communicating my emotions. Also, I have a problem communicating my emotions, and then when it gets to a point where I can't take it anymore, like it becomes really explosive. So, because the Leo it's like I'm roaring. And then the Scorpio is like, it's very deep down, passionate. You feel it deeply in your soul. Oh man, I keep telling people, I'm like, I just try to keep it cool, calm, collected. Y'all never seen that side. I really do. So, okay, the moon is in Scorpio, say. That means this square is going to be very strong for me. Brothers, sidebar. There have been times where I've been noticing where my period will start either when the moon's in Scorpio or when the moon squares Scorpio. So if the moon was in Leo or the moon was in Aquarius. So just not a fun time for me. So then I want to chant. I want to call on energy to help me in that time. The moon angel or archangel, excuse me, is Gabrielle. So I would say Gabrielle, because it's going to draw forth energy. And then Scorpio archangel, his name is Barkiel. But I might not want to call on Scorpio because maybe I have too much Scorpio going on right now. So I want the opposite, which is Taurus, which is Aphrodite. So then you can say it to yourself. You can write it in Hebrew because Hebrew is a spiritually charged language. So you can write the names in Hebrew and stick it on your wall or different parts of your house or whatever. You could have candles, and each planet and each sign has a particular color that correlates to it, and then you could stick the names on the candle. This is all for, again, generating energy. Certain gemstones as well correlate to planets and signs, and metals. So, for example, the metal for the moon is silver. The metal for Scorpio is iron. But if I'm trying to mitigate some of that Scorpion energy, I will give the metal for Venus and Taurus, which is copper, because that is what is the opposite of Scorpio is Taurus. Same for here. So I'm talking too much, I'm saying too much, I'm doing too much. Then I will want for Mercury, it's Raphael. And for Leo, it's Verkiel. But if I want the opposite, it's Cambriel. That's the energy that goes with Aquarius. So this is all that comes. I do charts. Disclaimer: I'm so behind. I got this new job. I teach at a public school. It's crazy. It's the craziest. I'm not even gonna say the school. Y'all can't fire me. But it's crazy. Okay. So I'm just trying to get some order with my school stuff. But I really enjoy doing charts, and I really enjoy teaching people how to do charts. I even thought about, maybe for October I should have done a 4-week series on how to read a chart, but I'm a little late. Maybe November. We'll see. Yes, sir.
Is there any way that you know that we can get the gems? I think last time my sister was telling me about Moor astrology or Moorish Emporium, Holy Emporium.
Yes, we have gemstones too. Yeah, I have gemstones. If y'all want to meet me in person somewhere, maybe I can bring them here next time if you have certain ones you want. But I have a whole slew of gemstones in my home. So that's what he's trying to plug. Right, but I am really not running the store that well right now. And so I'll sidebar. The store was started by the Grand Sheik and Sheik of the Temple, Holy Moorish Temple of Science 3. Well, it used to be 2F, now it's 3. And they're currently kidnapped and being held in so-called New Jersey. They're supposed to be sentenced the end of October, but I think that's going to be pushed back even further. So they started the store, they started the temple, and I spoke to him the other day, and he's just linking with a Moor out of Chicago just trying to get some remedy to his situation. So they started the store. I was trying to run it, but she got a lot going on in that store. She's a Gemini, so Geminis can do a lot. They have a Gemini. So Aries, Sag, Leo, they're all fire. So they try. Your own element trines with you. Then remember we talked about receptive versus expressive. Receptive, they always sextile, but they're not the same element. So that would be Virgo, Cancer. They're sextile. Earth, water. That would be Sag, Aries. Sag, Aquarius. Capricorn, Scorpio. These are all sextile. These are good. These are good. These are good. This is a struggle. Oppositions are a struggle. Your opposite sign, because it brings you balance. So you got to go through that struggle first. It's like a tug of war. So you realize, oh, we're supposed to be working together. And then conjunct is the same sign, or 30 degrees apart. Sometimes too much of one thing can be bad. Sometimes people think, oh, you know, 2 cancers, you're going to be great. It's too much Cancer, though. Sometimes it's good to work with your same sign, though. So it just depends on the situation. Like when it comes to dating, typically I say don't be with your same sign, but it depends on the rest of your chart. But typically, I dated somebody who briefly, very briefly, like in college for like a day. But his birthday was the day before mine. Yeah, it was weird. I was like, oh, this is my... And then he had a twin brother. So I was like, oh, I'm the triplet. Like, that's how I really felt. So that's why people from India are like, I got to know your birthday before we can be together. Because they don't do divorce. And they don't have some of the same issues that we have going on because they stuck to the ancient ways of running a society. Where, you know, we trying to do eHarmony and all that kind of stuff. And then what's that show? Catfish and like craziness. When if we were just in our ancient ways, if we were aligned. And the last thing I want to say, because this is what I really wanted to talk about today, is that people have to know who they are in order to know how they can serve themselves in the movement. So, you know, one day he's going to be in the movement doing his thing, and because he's going to know himself at a young age, he's going to know what exactly he has to do, right? Where I'm like, what was I supposed to do with my life? I went from wanting to be a writer, to a lawyer, to a teacher, to a midwife, like all these things. And then I look at my chart and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be all of them, so that's fine. But it stressed me because I was just like, this is so random. I don't know where this stuff is coming from. It's coming from the ethers. Right. So if we could focus more on ourselves and stop trying to fight everybody. We're trying to fight Moors who are misinformed. We're trying to fight... And when I say misinformed Moors, I'm talking about Moors who know they're Moors, but are giving out misinformation. We're trying to fight Moors who don't know they're Moors. We're trying to fight Europeans. Like, we're just constantly trying to fight, and then we're not trying to heal ourselves and know ourselves. In December, I plan to go to Honduras. Does anybody know about Honduras and Dr. Sebi?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my plan is to go. But it's like a healing. Because when I come back, I just look at it as a time to open myself up to the movement even more.
Right.
So that's where our mindset, I would like for us to put our mindsets right now, is like, how can I serve in the movement? What can I bring to the movement? Knowing my traits, knowing that I'm a Scorpio and I'm an investigator and I'm a researcher, knowing that I'm an Aquarius and I'm very good with thinking outside the box, knowing that I'm a Sag and that I'm all about doing what I have to do. And like, you could be the very one who everybody's afraid to do something, and you're like, no, let's just do it because I know it's right. You know, because that's the Sagittarian energy. They just, like, I dated Sag for a long time, okay? We're so different because I'm all about, I need security, I need like my home to be safe, and then Sag is like, I just want to experience life. And part of that is, you know, standing up for what's right and standing up against what's wrong, even if it is going to put me in a harmful position. Like, you just can't. It weighs too much on you because it's about justice and benevolence, and so knowing that about yourself, what can you bring to the movement, right? That's how we should all be thinking over like the next couple months. That's what I'm encouraging, as opposed to like, oh, you're more that you don't believe this, so you're wrong, because that's putting the energy outside. And the prophet, he even said in the first chapter, like, this is about your own trials. This is about going through your own challenges. Like, I lost my car. So I'm walking everywhere. Like, I can't go the places that I typically would go. This morning, I'll be gone. I'll be VA, I'll be Baltimore, like New York, wherever. So now I'm like stuck. But it's for a reason. I had to humble myself and just be like, okay, there's something I'm not doing properly. As opposed to, you know, going out and cursing the policy enforcers. What good is that gonna do me?
Right.
Okay, I've cursed you, so what? You still wield the power because you study. So now this is my time to study. Okay, I can't go all these places. I got to stay home and study.
Right.
That's how we got to start kind of just analyzing our lives. Why are we in the situations we're in? Why are we in the positions that we're in? It's not all because of punishment. Saturn is the great punisher, but when you overcome the punishment, it gives you your just reward. It gives you success. Okay, Saturn just moved from Scorpio to Sagittarius. So before it was about healing within ourselves, we've recently like kind of we're in the process of coming out of that. So that's why right now is like a really good time to at least jump on that bandwagon, because pretty soon it's going to be more about taking a step out there, taking a leap of faith, doing what you got to do, not being afraid, having the courage. But you got to know what you have to do in order to have courage in yourself. So, you know, that's the final piece for me. Can you have any questions? None?
Thank you, sister.
All right.
Thank you very much. All right. She gave me that. How many people came? They're doing that now. They're doing that now.
How many people are in here?
8.
3?
Yes.
Really? What are the 3 people?
Mommy sitting over there. Mommy over there.
1, 2, 3. There's
4.
And Daddy is what?
Daddy.
And then you would be,
3.
well, you're 3 years old. That's true. You're the 6th person, and I'm the 7th. 7 people in here. He's 3.
Can we get them on? Want to get them on, bro? You want to put them on?
How old is he?
Come on. Come on, stand out here. Come on. Come on, stand right here. You get on the camera. Want to get on the camera? Come on. Come stand
You
up.
want to
Get
get
on
on
the
the
camera.
camera? You gotta go over there if you want to be on camera.
Look, he got to put his hat on. I know that's right. I know that's right. Come on, stand right in front of the camera. Can you see yourself? Say Islam Moors. Say hello. Say Islam Moors.
Say, stop.
These is our future Moor brothers right here. That's what we're bringing the truth. All right. All right. Well, what I want to go into today is correcting the position of the I.R.S. What we was going to do last week. All right. And we're going to start with page 1. And if you have a pencil and pad and a piece of paper, you might want to write some of this stuff down because there's going to be some case laws that you might want to look up. So everybody got a pen and paper? Can we share some paper and pen? You got a pen?
Yes.
You got 2 extra ones?
I have paper pen and
again, this is correcting the position of the Internal Revenue Service and Social Security. And I am dealing with a wisdom too, so please bear with me. And this book was created by Sister Anna L. and came from RVBayPublications.com. Correcting the position of the I.R.S. Enforcing the American Constitution, obligation of Moors. Anna L., a widow. November 24, 1432, CCY 2012. There has been a lot written and spoken about the I.R.S. or Internal Revenue Service Accounting Corporation. This treatise is brought forth from a perspective of positive law. First and foremost, we as the people must know that all governments are created to preserve, protect, and secure the rights of the people. Specifically, the birthrights of the people. We're going to hear a lot of that, birthrights. The birthrights of the people and their inheritance, which cannot be bought, sold, or transferred. Those people are the Moors of El Maghrib, America. Pardon me. They are the heirs apparent. Other people referenced herein are foreigners who are alien to the land of Maghrib, America, Morocco, the most extreme west. They benefit by way of the heirs, Moors, as they have privileges through and by the Moors via the American Constitution, which secures these privileges. However, the heirs' birthrights are first and foremost protected and secured in the Constitution. The Constitution is an eloquent document based in ancient principles of government and designed to protect the heirs of the land, the rights of the people, and the privileges of the foreigners. So let's expound on that right there. Who has rights?
who has rights?
Who has rights? Yes, ma'am. And who has privileges? I.e. foreigners? All right. Okay, the above is the first principle. All employees, officers, agents, contractors, and agencies are the public servant, trustee of the people. Now I want to go back and make sure we get that, because that's something we got to expound on, right? All employees, officers, agents, contractors, and agencies are the public servant, trustee of the people. It is their obligation, pursuant to the American Constitution, Article, help me with this, Ms. Selah Li Bey, V1,
6.
that binds them to their oath of office to protect and preserve the people and their rights. The above is the second principle. Whenever the public servant, trustee, violates their oath of office and thereby endangers the people, wars against the people, or infringes in any way on the birthrights of the people, it is an act of treason. The punishment for treason is, that's correct. The above is the third principle. With the above principle firmly in mind, let's take a close look at the private foreign European for-profit Internal Revenue Services Accounting Corporation. In researching the said corporation, you will find that it is not
an agency of the United States Republic, federal government, as affirmed in the following case. Diversified Metal Products, Inc. This is the case law. I didn't want to write this down. This is the case law. Diversified Metal Products, Inc. versus T. Bow Company Trust. And that's T/-BOW Company Trust, Internal Revenue Service, and Steve Morgan, where the United States Attorney General Betty H. Richardson denies that the Internal Revenue Services is an agency of the United States government. Still, you must request, demand their delegation of authority, or DOAO, as an entity of the government functioning as a private contractor for profit. It must have a charter, i.e. delegation of authority, in order to engage in business. And if you study business a little, you will find that all businesses must have an indemnity insurance in order to operate in any business capacity. Now, Sister Selah went over that a little bit, I think, last week. Indemnity. Can we look that up and see what that means?
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe indemnity, dim is like damn, meaning to blame, and then in means not. So it means to not blame.
Okay.
So you get indemnity bond insurance to say if there was an accident or somebody, the public official did something wrong or caused harm, then they would not be held liable.
Okay.
Indemnity bond. Or don't come after like all their personal assets.
Okay.
Okay.
Although they have to put their assets as collateral. So.
Okay. Okay. Did you find it, Brother Bay?
Yeah, I did.
All right, let's go ahead and read it out.
So now, from Middle English, indemnify or indemnite, Anglo-Norman, late Latin, indemnitas. And it says to see indemnified. And that is transfer, Latin indemnis, uninjured, and not see, in plus damnum, harm, damage, entailing, liability, plus the suffix five.
Glad you looked that up. So the dim means harm.
Right.
Dim. So
Dim means
damn
harm.
and dim mean harm.
So without even going into the rest of this, we already know that you've been studying, sister, because no, all businesses must have an indemnity insurance prior to the start of their business in order to engage in any business activity.
And it's funny, sorry to cut you.
No, please.
But when I know I had said this, but I need to put on the record that when they took my car, I had asked for this is DPW, DC, and
The Department of Public Works.
Department of Public Works. And when I asked for the insurance, like I've been asking and asking, they didn't give it to me. And I went through the Freedom of Information Act officer. So they like forced DPW's hand. And they like gave me some self-insurance crap that they made up. Like their insurance number was 17.
Wow.
Like they made it up. They made some document up.
Right.
Because I have been pressing the issue. But then we could fight that. Like you can't self-insure. You can't insure yourself. Where did you say that?
Right. That's right. That's illegal. That's fraud.
Right.
All right, and we continue. The following analogy promotes clarity. In order for a doctor to first have a practice, he must have malpractice insurance. Without malpractice insurance, he cannot operate as a physician or practicing physician. If the doctor in any way injures the people, one of his patients, the patient can write a complaint and or sue the doctor in court for damages. Keep in mind, every time the doctor gets a written complaint or is sued, his malpractice insurance will go up. If the doctor receives too many written complaints or is sued too often, his malpractice insurance will be too high to maintain. At this point, the doctor would do one of three things. Join a practice. At such time, that practice's insurance may increase. join a hospital. As a result, the hospital malpractice insurance may increase or retire and or no longer practice, cease to exist. The same process explained above as a doctor in a practicing business is the exact same process that applies to all businesses and corporations, including alleged government agencies, which are nothing more than for-profit European private corporations who have usurped the government seat unlawfully. One major key to always keep in mind: if you go into any alleged government agency and they demand, extort any fees from you, that is a private, foreign, European, for-profit corporation posing as a government agency. Remember, all government agents are compensated via taxes collected. Now, do we know what that really means?
That, well, you said for-profit European private corporations, which basically, like we talked about the Virginia company, that was a joint stock trust that was created to create the United States. So that's why it's a corporation. And it's a corporation that is occupying this land mass, this territory. So for them to say, oh, you have to discharge any fiat for any services, and then pretending to be a government agency when they're really a private corporation, that's fraud, and that's inducement, and that's illegal.
Right. And we continue. Therefore, one of the questions one must ask is, where do the extorted fees go? This is what is called kickbacks, slush funds, in short, prima facie evidence of extortion. How do you prove if a government agency is lawfully authorized to exist? Demand, as the people, the delegation of authority. I'm gonna write that down, the delegation of authority, or DOAO. This provides the people with exactly what can and cannot be done. It is that simple. If any agency states they do not have one or it doesn't exist, they have just affirmed that they are functioning outside of the authority of the lawful government. In short, they are racketeering. If they allege to be public servants, trustees, that will be called what?
Colorable authority.
In short, they are racketeering, right? So if they're racketeering, if they allege to be public servants and trustees, that would be called what?
Treason.
There you go, treason. And what's the punishment for treason again?
Yeah.
Right. No man or woman in this country is so high that he is above the law. No officer of the law may set that law at defiance with impunity. All the officers of the government, from the highest to the lowest, are creatures of the law and are bound to obey it. That's Butts versus Akano, and that's ECONOMOU, 438 U.S., 478, 1978, United States versus Lee. The Internal Revenue Services Accounting Corporation. Remember, everything lawful government does, by definition, is supposed to be and is all about securing the birthrights. I'm going to say that again. All about securing the birthrights of the people. Therefore, all, in bold letters, all, A-L-L, statutes at large, codes, ordinances, apply only to public servants, trustees, and corporations, all corporations inclusive of federal and state government corporation / agencies. When you research review, and or study the Internal Revenue codes, they apply to public servants, trustees, and corporations only. Let's go back on that. When you research, review, and or study the Internal Revenue codes, they apply to public servants, trustees, and corporations only. If you study, you will find that this is exactly what they affirm. As always, the key to this degree is study. It is not the function of our government to keep the citizens from falling into error. It is the function of the citizens to keep the government from falling into error. American Communications Association versus Dodds, D-O-U-D-S, 339 U.S. 382, 1950, case law. We'll read that case law again. American Communications Association, or the ACA, versus Dodds, D-O-U-D-S, 1950. Public officers are merely the agents of the public. Public officers are merely the agents of the public whose powers and authority are defined and limited by law. Any act without the scope of the authority so defined does not bind the principal, and all persons dealing with such agents are charged with knowledge of the intent of their authority. Continental Casualty Company versus United States, 1940. Every man is independent of all laws, except those prescribed by nature. He is not bound by any institutions formed by his fellow men without his consent. Cruden versus Neal. Note, by law, a judge is a state officer. The judge then acts not as a judge, but as a private individual in his person. For the family, let me just read that again for y'all too out there. Note, by law, this is by law now. A judge is a state officer. The judge then acts not as a judge, but as a private individual in his person. When a judge acts as a trespasser of the law, when a judge does not follow the law, the judge loses subject matter jurisdiction. Write that down. Subject matter jurisdiction. And the judge's orders are not voidable, but void, and of no legal force or effect. The U.S. Supreme Court stated that when a state officer acts under a state law in a manner violative of the federal Constitution, he comes into conflict with the superior authority of that Constitution. And he is in that case stripped of his official or representative character and is subject in his person to be or to the consequences of his individual conduct. The state has no power to impart to him any immunity for responsibility to the supreme authority of the United States. And that can, what are they saying there? Anybody, what are they saying about the judges?
Basically, they're tied. They're actually bound by whatever state laws apply specifically to them, and then anytime they act outside of that, they're recusing themselves. Well, they're stripping themselves of that.
Are they bound? Are they bound by statute?
No.
They're bound by the Constitution.
No,
It is. There it is. There it is. Let me get that. You don't mind. What'd you say again, sister?
Judges are bound by the Constitution.
So what is codes and statutes for? Smart. We got a smart one here today, boy. Thank you for bringing her through. Okay, that's right. And we're going to go into another case law, and that's Basso versus UPL. Under federal law, which is applicable to all states, the U.S. Supreme Court stated that if a court is without authority, its judgments and orders are regarded as nullities. They are not voidable, but simply void, and from no bar to a recovery sought, even prior to a reversal in opposition to them. They constitute no justification, and all persons concerned in executing such judgments or sentences are considered in law as trespassers. Okay. The federal government may neither issue directives requiring the states to address particular problems, nor command the state's officers or those of their political subdivisions to administer or enforce a federal regulatory program. It matters not whether policy making is involved, and no case-by-case weighing of the burdens or benefits is necessary. Such commands are fundamentally incompatible with our constitutional system of dual sovereignty. Miller versus U.S. 230F. There can be no sanction or penalty imposed upon one because of his exercise of constitutional rights. Social Security Act of 1935. And we may not get through all this today, but we're going to get through some of it. 10 minutes. Okay. The Social Security Act, which is part of Title 42 of the United States Code. Okay, Title 42. Was enacted in 1935 as a U.S. government-sponsored voluntary pension program for the benefit of individuals who wish to voluntarily participate in the program. It is administered by the private foreign European for-profit Social Security Administration Corporation. The tax upon which the old benefits is based is collected by the I.R.S. or Internal Revenue Service under the provisions of Title 26. That's Title 26, right? Of the United States Code, otherwise known as the Internal Revenue Code Policy, I.R.C. Credit, monies, in parentheses, collected by the I.R.S. are not sent to the Social Security Administration to fund their administrative and disbursement activities, but rather end up in the general fund along with other taxes collected. What does I.R.C. stand for?
Internal Revenue Code.
And it says credit, monies, in parentheses. What is lawful money?
Gold and silver coin.
Right. The fraud against the people is clear, wherein the stolen finance turned over by contracting agents, i.e. the employer. Wow, that's a bombshell. Let me go back. The fraud against the people is clear, wherein the stolen finance turned over by contracting agents, i.e. the employer, are allegedly held in a trust fund. The Social Security Act has no provisions for a trust fund or insurance. In fact, it would be unconstitutional if it had a trust fund according to Davis versus Boston, 89-368. Even the Supreme Court says there is never a contractual obligation to pay Social Security benefits because no one has a contracted right to benefits. Fleming versus Nestor, 363. I.e., it is not insurance and there is no promise to pay benefits. For everybody who's working and getting taxed on Social Security, is that lawful? Nope. There is no provision in the United States Constitution for the federal government to be engaged in the insurance business. Wow. Thank you, Sister Annie. Although it may be alleged that a so-called trust fund exists, the truth is that it contains no money or other assets, only governmental IOUs promising to pay money itself. What is a Federal Reserve note?
It's fiat currency. It's a debt obligation of U.S. Treasury.
Could we say that is a promissory note? Federal Reserve notes, promissory notes. Federal Reserve notes, are they promissory
I
notes?
mean, if it's a promise to repay something, that makes it promissory.
I think
Correct.
the Treasury bond was, right? The
Mhm.
T-bond.
The T-bond?
Yeah, and then the T-bond is the promissory note, and the Federal Reserve note is what's issued by the Federal Reserve after the U.S. Treasury promises to pay back whatever Federal Reserve issues them on credit
Right.
or on interest, with interest.
Mm-hmm. So is it safe to say both of them are notes, Treasury and Reserve notes? All right. Social Security is a contract masquerading as an application that people allegedly voluntarily enter into. We gotta know that that is just voluntary. Social Security is voluntary. It is prima facie evidence that the federal government, inclusive of the alleged Congress, the Internal Revenue Services Corporation, and the Social Security Administration Corporation, along with the employer corporation, are all colluding, conspiring, and warring against the people. So when it says employer corporation, and we know that employers are who? What are employers? They give us jobs, right, or work, right?
Right.
So they're part of the BS, right? Right? So they right. So they force us to pay Social Security, right? Because whenever you have a job, you have to pay Social Security. It's just you have to pay it. But they say you have to pay it.
It's under threat.
Right. But it says clearly that it's voluntary, right?
Right.
But they force you into doing it. Congress does not have the power or authority to tax the people. Okay. Let's go back on that because that's very important. Don't wait this sister come on back in and we're gonna hit on that again. And it says Congress does not have the power or authority to tax the people whom they receive compensation from. In doing so, they are engaged in kickbacks, misappropriation of funds, theft, extortion. In short, will be what?
Treason.
There you go, ma'am. And again, what is the punishment for treason?
Yeah.
So if a judge sitting on the bench and he knows he has an obligation to the people, which would be us, you, in that tribunal, and he goes against the Constitution, can you charge him with treason? Why not? Why you? Yes, you can, right? Right. So why, as a people, are we not removing these people from our seats? What y'all think the problem is?
Lack of knowledge.
And that kills us, right? And we got about a couple minutes. We're gonna start breaking down, but Brother Bey is gonna come back next week, and we're gonna get deeper into this. It's one important one I wanted.
I mean, I think people just don't know. Even if they know the information, I think people don't know the procedures. They don't know what to do. I mean, that's
right. I mean, that's because of what? A lack of study, right?
probably more than likely.
Well, not even just that. I mean, sometimes it's just that the process is so lengthy. The fight to get these people to do the right thing and to hold them accountable, that some people just give up.
Right.
That's why I said it.
Right. To deter you, right? To make you want to give up. What am I fighting for? Why should I be fighting?
and that's the reason we need to unify.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what are some steps of us becoming unified? What can we do to begin to be unified?
I mean, we're working on it now.
There you
Studying
go.
it
There you
together.
go. There you go. Yes, and that's the answer I was looking for. We here. We're unified right now, right? In unity. Because when I play this back onto the YouTube, everybody's gonna see it, and they're gonna see that we're in here. We studying. We even got the babies here.
What's that?
You know, we got the babies here, and that says a lot. You know, that says a lot because it all starts. We doing this for who? Not ourselves. We doing this. Y'all too are doing this for who?
Right there.
There you go. There you go. Because we gonna perish in about 30, 40 years, you know what I'm saying? And they gonna still be here.
The bottle.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna get through this one last one. I know she probably be tapping the door like she did last time and came in. Came in last time and opened the door and said okay. But we're gonna get into. In 1996, Congress passed a law to overcome this ruling, which stated that judicial immunity doesn't exist.
Can I go get
Citizens can sue judges for prospective injunctive relief. And I'm gonna end on that one. And I think we really need to look into removing these people from our seats because in Congress, whose seats are being occupied by foreigners and why?
Because the Republic was ours.
And for those who don't think that the Republic was ours, what is a good movie that they can go and look up?
Read that. Read that. Read that.
It's actually the first motion picture.
Dragonfly.
What, Race of a Nation?
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation, I mean?
Birth of a Nation. It's a silent movie, but you see that we were in power. We were either step down or die. Either step down or die.
Look.
Now, I want to ask, sister, what does prima facie mean?
Prima facie,
Yes.
first face, at first, like the first time you look at it. What is it apparent? What does it appear to be?
Want to put it up?
Did you feel? You got a couple minutes? Yes, please. And what is income?
Oh.
Gains derived from capital or labor or both.
So when you're working at a job, plantation, is that income?
No.
Very good. So how can your income be taxed? Or how can it be called income and then taxed?
They
If you work.
have by
What's that?
creating you as a corporation, the
What's that
14th
right
Amendment,
there?
corporate
What's that right
artificial
there?
being,
Right there, right
your
there.
labor,
What's that?
which is your property, has been determined to be capital. Meaning it can be taken back and then sent back out every day as if you don't age.
Right, right, right. Who gets, all of us on a plantation here, right? You have a job, right? You have a job, you working?
Oh.
Oh, you will, we will if you're not, you will. But we've been working, we worked before, and we all had this tax taken out, FICA, F-I-C-A. Are we all familiar with that? FICA, right? The popular, okay, what FICA really is, and I'm gonna end there. The popular mistaken belief is that the FICA tax, which is imposed on the income of employees under section 3101A, is a wage tax. However, a reading of section 3101A shows clearly that the tax is not, in fact, a wage tax, but rather is imposed on income, which is measured by wages. Hence, the FICA tax is simply another income tax.
Oh, look.
And who, I'm gonna end there, we're gonna carry this on to next week, but who said something, who said this famous quote? Our people are going to be taxed to death. There you go. And I'm gonna end that on there. So you come on up and do the prayer to leave us on out, or we just gonna break it down. I'll see you next week.
All right, so we're gonna do the prayer.
5 on the left, 2 on the right.
Okay. Jeez, why do I always forget it? Allah,
Allah,
bind our hearts and minds
bind our hearts and minds
back to our ancient forefathers,
back to our ancient forefathers,
divine creed and principle.
divine creed and principles.
This we ask
This we ask
in your holy name,
in your holy name,
in the 7 Elohim.
in the 7 Elohim.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam.
Islam, Hotep, and Ashe. And we will be back here next week. And for those who didn't come to the prior classes,
Where's my book?
the season has started now, right? The NFL season has started, right?
Oh yeah, it's been
For
started.
y'all that didn't see that, this is an official nickel,
What's up?
silver nickel. Can you tell me what's on there?
Man, I had bought a hat.
But tell me something more significant though, sister. And notice I said NFL.
Yeah.
Hey, she said it did right. Kid. But that let us know that we were empowered. But this is what I really wanted to show y'all.
Oh, thank you.
This is a 1897 United States penny. We're breaking down now. Yeah, that is the United States penny from 1897, I believe. And that is a Moorish sister. Moorish sister on there.
Can I have
We know that we were and still are in power. We just sleep. We need to wake
No,
up.
she. And I'm moving. No, no.